Even as the process begins to establish new Oklahoma education standards, there is an ongoing effort to improve educational opportunities for students in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM. Educators and policymakers are working on ways to attract and retain students and teachers in the STEM fields, but agree there is much more to do if the state is to meet the demands of a changing economy.
Over the next decade, it's estimated that more than half of all new jobs and up to 80% of the highest paying jobs in the United States will be in careers related to science, engineering, technology, and math. During the past year, Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin hosted the state's first ever STEM Summit, telling participants it's clear the state must close the skills gap in order to meet the demands of business and industry.
It's very clear that a high school diploma is no longer adequate to be able to get a good job in a middle-class life. And this nation must understand that a post-secondary education or a career technology certificate or work certificate is the new minimum.
Dr. Stephen Mckeever is a member of the Governor's Advisory Council for Science and Technology. Mckeever says the impetus for STEM grew out of a strategic plan that the council put together.
We looked at everything that was required to build the science and technology enterprise in the state. And we realized that the fundamental layer, the foundational layer upon which everything else would be built is education, and in particular, STEM education.
Mckeever says it quickly became clear that Oklahoma needed more highly qualified science and math teachers in the classrooms, but recruiting people with those skill sets is difficult when they can make so much more in the private sector.
If you start in industry, you'll start with a salary perhaps in the mid-40s, and you have a career ladder, and you can expect salaries of 70 to 80,000 on average. Within the next few years, you can expect promotions. You go into education as an alternative. You start in the mid-30s. By the time you retire, 40 years later, you're still getting salaries in the mid-30s.
Mckeever would like to see universities turning out more teachers in the STEM fields. Next fall, Oklahoma State University will begin a program modeled after the highly successful Osu Teach Program at the University of Texas, which is designed to attract science and mathematics majors into secondary teaching careers.
OSU has just adopted this program, and we call it our Osu Teach Program. And to me, this is a model of what universities should be doing and can be doing in this area to get the better qualified teachers into our schools.
While the lack of skilled teachers is the biggest obstacle to successful implementation of STEM, it's not the only one. Mckeever says in order to meet STEM standards, students at the high school level should be spending 40% of their time in hands-on lab activities, but that's not happening in most schools.
And the reason it's not the case is that labs are expensive, and it's harder to do such training than it is a simple classroom teaching. And yet it's the hands-on training that inspires students.
Lab facilities are often lacking in smaller cities and towns across Oklahoma, but Mckeever says new legislation enacted this year should help address that problem.
There is a program called the STEM Communities Program, and indeed legislation was just passed called STEM State of Mind, which sets up officially these STEM communities, but it's up to each community to take action on their own.
State Senator Ron Sharp is the principal author of the bill, which creates a mechanism for establishing criteria and a process for local communities to become STEM communities.
We're trying to get businesses, educators, the state legislature of Oklahoma all on board to try to make sure this is properly funded and to get an organization to STEM within the state of Oklahoma.
Sharp says the legislation will include and support STEM programs in career and technology centers such as Gordon Cooper Technology Center in Shawnee.
One of the things that I've been very impressed with Gordon Cooper is their robotics program. They have a state competition here in Oklahoma in March that I went to. All of these schools are getting into robotics, they're getting into drafting, they're getting into math skills. And as I said, I think this is going to be something very beneficial for our future.
The STEM State of Mind bill has been signed into law by the governor. The legislation is scheduled to take effect July 1st.